Alrighty, folks, come on in. Let's get this show started. We've got loads to talk about. Is everybody all seated, ready to go? Give it a couple more seconds and then we're going to get started. Okay, is everybody all set? All right, well, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Nick here with the very first Big Brother recap show for season 27 of Big Brother. You'll notice I'm kind of monotone today, especially with the sunglasses. I'm kind of dealing with some issues with my eye right now. It's nothing contagious, don't worry. But I am kind of sensitive to light right now, so for the time being, we're just going to keep the lights off and everything, but the show must go on. Okay, because I've been ready to talk about this, and we have a lot to talk about, including we got to go back to the beginning and recap the premiere of Big Brother as well as the week's worth of events. So without further ado, let's jump right in because I'm ready. Okay. Let me make sure. Okay, we are good to go. All right. So I've got the screen pulled up right now. This is week 1 of Big Brother 27. This week we're going to recap the premiere night, and we're going to recap the entire first week, and we will see who the first person from Big Brother was, who was evicted from Big Brother. Just a quick reminder of the Big Brother schedule. Sundays is when the head of household competition will take place and the nominations. Wednesday, it's a special 90-minute episode of Big Brother. We have Power of Veto and we have the veto meeting. And then Thursday nights will be the live eviction. So just a heads up. Now we also ignore the date, but we have a new Big Brother series called Big Brother Unlocked that's happening starting next week. I thought it was going to be today, but it's actually going to be next Friday. Probably look at behind the scenes with former house guests and live feed footage. So we'll make sure to check that out. But also a reminder that the recap shows, my recap shows, are going to be every Friday, 5:00 p.m. Pacific time, 8:00 Eastern. All right, so let's do this. Let's start off with a recap of premiere night. So 16 house guests have begun their journey to the $750,000 grand prize. But they're all going to be in for a summer of mystery. So first off, right off the bat, when everybody walks in, there is a timer that nobody knows about, but apparently the lights go off and the mastermind has not only stolen a special relic that has the head of household power, but he has also kidnapped Julie Chen. So the mastermind is going to put the house guests to work right off the bat. So first competitions of the season is to capture the HOH relic and save Julie. So first competition of the night was to save Julie. And what the house guests had to do was they had to build a bridge. And once they built that bridge, then they'd have to go to the other side and go to a set of doors. Now each door is going to tell a special message about what Julie was wearing on premiere night. Only one of those messages were correct. Whoever guessed the correct door would win the challenge, as it's illustrated here. So again, 8 house guests, they have to build a bridge. Each door will reveal a clue to what Julie was wearing. Only one of the doors has the correct clue. And it looks like our first competition winner was Zach. So congratulations, Zach. We'll find out what his prize is momentarily. By the way, go back to the previous recap show episode and I have introduced all the house guests. So now the second competition of the night was to capture the HOH relic. Now only one of these, as you see, is the correct one. So whoever found the relic would receive a special prize. And our second competition winner was Jimmy. He correctly found the right relic. So now it's time to find out what these special prizes are. So Zach ends up winning $10,000. Well, there you go. Okay. That's a nice way to start the game. While Jimmy won a special power. Okay, Jimmy. So Jimmy can only choose 4 people to compete in the first head of household competition. And this includes himself if he chooses to. So of course Jimmy wants to choose himself to play. He has also chosen Adrian, Ashley, and Vince to play in this first head of household competition. So one of these 4 is going to be the first head of household of the summer. As we move into competition number 1, destroy the mastermind's lair. Okay, so as you can see, let's look at this picture right here. They are all going to be building, there's like toppling towers. There's a bunch of bombs in the back, and they're going to have to balance the bombs in order to detonate the thing and destroy the mastermind's lair. Here's the thing, once they stack all those, they have to let them sit for 10 seconds before they're officially declared the winner. Now let me remind you about the head household power. The head of household will be safe for the entire week. The head of household gets their own bedroom for the week. And the head of household has the responsibility of nominating, well, normally it'd be 2 people, for eviction. So after all that, our very first head of household of the summer is Vince. Congratulations, Vince. Now we dive right into the twists. Now, if you recall last summer, if you watched Big Brother, there was a special competition called the BBAI Arena. Basically, the head of household will nominate 3 people for eviction. Come Thursday night, those 3 people would compete in a competition for safety. So it's their last chance at safety. Now, because of the popularity of this competition, Big Brother has decided to bring it back in a little twist we call the Big Brother Blockbuster. So once again, 3 people are going to be nominated for eviction every week. If the veto is used, a 3rd nominee will still be announced. On eviction night, one last competition will be played to save one of the 3 nominees. So that means only 2 people will be facing the eviction vote. Now we have another twist. The mastermind has unlocked a secret passage for one house guest to re-enter the game. So who is this house guest that you see? Well, if you are a fan of Big Brother, like I am, you're going to flip when you find out that this person is no stranger to the Big Brother game. In fact, this person has played twice. This person made it to jury the first round, but the second round, she ended up winning Big Brother 13. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you a Big Brother legend herself, Mrs. Rachel Riley Villegas, reality royalty herself. If you thought this show didn't have enough drama, you're gonna get some drama now. So here we have Rachel Riley Villegas, age 40. She's living in Alabama right now. Occupation, I put reality casting, but I could have also put TV personality because that's what she is. She has appeared on many reality TV shows since leaving Big Brother. So now that Rachel has arrived, we have to actually add her to the memory wall. So let's go ahead and do that in 3, 2, 1. There we go. Now we have 17 house guests on the board. Well, technically we have 17 because now it's time for the final twist of premiere night. Apparently, one of these house guests is not a real house guest. They are, in fact, the mastermind's accomplice. So, here's what's going to happen. If the majority of the house guests can correctly guess who the accomplice is, that person will be ejected from the house immediately. If the majority guesses incorrectly, the accomplice will become an official house guest, and 17 people will be competing for the big prize. So now the house has come together and has voted. Sorry, it's live television at its finest. Okay, so the house is voting to see who is the mastermind's accomplice. It came down to two people, Riley and Zay. The majority voted for Riley to be the mastermind's accomplice. So let's find out if they were correct. The mastermind's real accomplice is Amy. Well, no one was suspecting this, although there were some people on social media that kind of clocked Amy's Amy being the accomplice like right off the bat. They swear they saw something in her pocket. So yeah, so I think it was pretty clear. Plus also, if you think about it, there were more girls than guys in the house, so it was pretty clear that a girl had to be the accomplice. So Amy was not discovered, so that means we now have 17 house guests competing for the head of household, or not the head of household, but for the $750,000. Now, remember when I told you Zach won $10,000 for finding Julie? Apparently, there's more to the story. So apparently, Zach's $10,000 is actually has a special power to it. The $10,000 that he won can be used to save himself in the game. As we roll into our next twist. Right now, Zach holds $10,000. He can use the 10 grand at any point before jury to buy his safety. He has 8 chances because there's 8 evictions before we begin jury if we stick to the 7-person jury this year. If we stick to 9 people, which I don't think we will, then he would only have 5 chances. Or 6, I don't know. Well, it would be 6 because there's an extra house guest. If he buys his safety, the head of household will receive the 10 grand instead, and he or she cannot refuse this offer. They have to take the 10 grand and save Zach. If Zach doesn't buy his safety, meaning he survives 8 evictions, he will receive the 10 grand after the season's over. So, okay, now let's talk about the alliances. We're going to be doing alliance updates every week. And yes, they do change on a dime. The first alliance we have is the Triple Threat Alliance. We have Jimmy, Mickey, and Morgan. Next, we have the Mom Squad, Rachel and Amy. The final 2 deal between Kelly and Vince. Now, I don't think this one's going to stay true. And the point being is because Kelly has already offered herself to be a pawn for Vince for his nominations. And the worst part is that Vince is actually considering this. I don't know. Next, we have the heavy hitters, which consist of Vince, Jimmy, Rachel, Morgan, Zach, and Riley. So I'm just making sure something real quick. Okay, we're good. And then we have a triplets alliance that consists of Vince, Jimmy, and Rachel. Now, nominations are coming up. Vince has just gotten his HOH room. Ashley had offered or had asked Vince if she can take a shower in the HOH room. So she does. Now here's what happened. Alleged when I first saw the episode, they made it seem like she had taken a 2-hour shower. And a lot of the house guests noticed right away. What had actually happened was that Ashley had only taken like a 30-minute shower and then stayed up in the HOH room for the remainder of the 2 hours. But the house guests didn't know that. They assumed that she was in the shower for 2 hours and did not let Vince take a shower either. So I think Catherine was the first person that said something about this shower. So this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And so this is the season we're headed to where one little issue can get you on the block. So we're calling this little event #Showergate. And it only gets better from there. Now, before we head into the nominations, I need to make a note that the have-nots that were chosen for the first week won safety. Now, because Rachel came in late, there was not a room prepared for her for the Hotel Mystere. So she has to be a have-not for the week, but she was guaranteed safety for the week. And she got to choose the remaining house guests that will also be safe. So Rachel chose Will to be safe. Will then chose Zach to be saved, as if he didn't need any more safety, but the house guests don't know that yet. And Zach finally chose Ava. So these 4 house guests are safe for the week in addition to Vince. Now it's time to dip into our first nominations of the season. Remember, 3 people have to sit on the block. The nominees pre-veto are Zay, Amy, and Ashley. Now, Vince had warned Zay that he would likely be a nominee. And then Amy was having talks with Vince. Amy was hearing that Ashley was likely going to be a nominee because everybody was talking about Showergate. And Amy just started flipping out and like started crying and all that. She said she felt bad for Ashley, and she basically told Vince like I'm like her only friend in this house. Like I don't want to see her on the block, which is true and all, but you shouldn't have told Vince that because in week 1 you're looking for any reason to put people on the block. So that kind of sealed Amy's fate. And Ashley, we already knew you were headed down that route because of Showergate. Now, Ashley went up to Vince afterwards and oh wait, before we dive into that, keep in mind Vince also has Kelly on his mind because she did volunteer. So keep that in mind. Now, Ashley was pissed at Vince. Like she started flipping out and she says she can't trust Vince and she's flipping out, having a meltdown, saying because what Vince had promised the people who competed in the head of household, he promised them that I wasn't going to put them up. And Ashley was one of those people, and she felt super betrayed. So she's there, crying and all that. And Vince is talking about how, this is going to make him look like an idiot, and Ashley agreed. So Vince was saying, look, if I win the veto, I'm going to use it on you. Would you trust me again? And she would said, yeah. But in her diary room, she said, no, you broke my trust. Rightfully so, Ashley. Good job. If I didn't pick Amy, Ashley would have been the next pick because lawyers do pretty good in Big Brother, So just know I'm watching Ashley as well. But I have to root for Amy because she's Stockton, California, 10 minutes from Stockton. So now let's move into the power of veto competition. And I'm going to just say it up front, the first competition stank. First competition stank. And I mean, like, it really stank because the house guests had to decipher some smells in regards to the crime scenes. So there were 3 crime scenes, and the house guests had to determine the person that did the crime based on the tire tracks, the footprints, and the smell that was there. And quite frankly, it stunk up the backyard. So this is a crucial win for the nominees, especially for Ashley because she has no reinforcements. Zay had Zach, Amy had Rachel. Nobody's there to save Ashley. So let me remind you about the power of veto. Only 6 people will compete in the veto competition: the head of household, the 3 nominees, and 2 people chosen by random draw. The winner of the veto can save one of the 3 nominees from the chopping block, or they can choose not to use the veto and lock in the nominees. That person is also saved too, the winner of the veto. If a nominee is removed from the block, the head of household must name a new house guest as a replacement nominee, and the veto winner cannot be nominated. So who was our first veto winner of the season? Oh, look at that. It's Ashley. Her back was against the wall and she pulled out the W. Good job, Ashley. I think you're going to do really good in this game. Now, poor Vince, he's already flipping out because he has to now put a 4th person on the block. And sure enough, Kelly has already gone up there to console him and be like, look, I will go up for you. Now, at this point, I was so confused because Vince, this is your final 2. And you want to put her on the block and basically risk her going home? I don't think that's what final 2 people would do. Like, honestly, if Kelly was my final 2, I would do everything to save her and not put her on the block. And what frustrated me even more was that Vince wasn't even like, he started crying because so Kelly had told Vince, okay, now you can put me up on the block. He starts crying over possibly putting her up. Like, dude, you're not even focused that this is your final 2. You're focused that you have to put up a 4th person. Like, this does not make sense. And I don't see this final 2 going very far. I honestly don't. Not to mention, especially since Ashley just won the veto, Vince, this is not a good look for you. So, as I mentioned, Vince has to look for a replacement nominee, and he's going around looking for people. Now, little Jimmy over here is starting to plant some seeds in Vince, as they already kind of have an agreement already. Now, Jimmy is telling Vince, what if we consider Keanu? And so word is beginning to travel that Jimmy wants Keanu put on the block. Some words were twisted a little bit, but it was just like a misunderstanding or whatever. But this game of telephone is rubbing Keanu the wrong way, and it's going to rub Jimmy the wrong way. So let's get right down to the veto ceremony. Ashley is going to use the power of veto on herself, and she's taking herself off the block. So now this would have been the part where I said final nominees, but this has to be the nominees pre-blockbuster competition. So these are the 3 house guests that are going to compete in the blockbuster: Zay, Amy, and our new replacement nominee, Kelly. So Vince honors Kelly's wishes and puts her on the block. So we think the veto ceremony's over, but now Jimmy stands up and puts on a show for us. After the back and forth between Keanu and Jimmy, saying that Jimmy wanted Keanu up on the block and was lying to Keanu about it, Keanu gave Jimmy a chance to kind of explain himself, and he didn't. So Jimmy is pissed at this point, and he gets up in front of the house and basically calls Keanu out for being a snake. And it's quite a dramatic performance. I wasn't able to pull it up right now, but anyway. So yeah, that ceremony ended. So after the ceremony, Keanu and Jimmy go hash it out. Keanu tells Jimmy, "I was hearing that you wanted me on the block," telling Vince, "Put me up on the to put him up on the block." Jimmy had to backtrack a little bit because he said he told Vince, "What if you consider, or have you considered?" He didn't straight up tell him, but of course, if Jimmy said that, he wouldn't tell Keanu that. No. So they agree that it was miscommunication on their ends. So Jimmy and Keanu make up and they go about their day. But I think these two are going to keep an eye on each other to see if anyone's going to be a snake. Now, our girl Kelly, she is starting to feel the pressure of the block. She finally realizes maybe this was a dumb move. Kelly, it was a dumb move. You never, ever volunteer to go on the block. You are taking a big risk because pawns go home a lot of the times. And so she starts flipping out. Meanwhile, and she has every right to, because Rachel is now going around campaigning to save Amy this week. And Zay is starting to take notice, saying how, Rachel's safe this week and she's doing it, and she's just giving her an opportunity to, play the game and everything. So Zay decides to call Rachel out basically for being sneaky and for campaigning for Amy to stay and for Zay to go home. So what Zay told Rachel is that Rachel would be in a pool of people that he would like to target. So what Zay basically told Rachel is, "I'm coming for you." So Rachel didn't like this at all. And she straight up told Zay, "Don't come for the queen," because she is indeed that queen. And let me tell you something. Rachel didn't win season 13 by doing nothing. She is one of those few winners that actually won by doing stuff. She was nominated multiple times in season 13, and she won head of household numerous times that season. So, oh, sorry. Oh, and they continue to go. They take the fight inside the house, and Zay calls her out in front of the entire house. So, Zay, that's pretty ballsy for you to call Rachel out, but you're on the block, my dude. This is not a good look for you. If you weren't on the block, that'd be a different story. But because you are likely a candidate to go home, not a good idea. Not to mention that Amy could have been collateral damage because of this. So, anyway. So eviction night is finally here, and it's time for the first blockbuster competition of the season. Now, there is going to be a phrase that is scrambled, and the house guests had to decipher the message, and they had to pick up an item that fit the description. Let me remind you about the blockbuster. 3 people will be nominated. If forget about the veto right now. The competition will determine the person who will be removed off the block on eviction night. So that leaves the final 2 house guests to face eviction. Our first blockbuster win of the season is Kelly. Now, this was a shocker. I was kind of expecting Kelly to stay on the block. Kelly took a let me backtrack to last season with our house guest Tucker. He came up with a really good quote: "Risk it for the biscuit." There's also another phrase: "Big risks come with big rewards." Kelly took a really big risk and won. So good for her. So now our final nominees for the week are Zay and Amy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to move into the first eviction of the season. 14 votes are up for grabs. There is a possibility of a tiebreaker, and Vince would have to cast the final vote as HOH. So here are the results of the eviction. Kelly voted for Amy. Rachel voted for Zay. Zach voted for Amy. Riley voted for Zay. Now that one was a shocker, and that was possibly the vote that sealed Zay's fate. Jimmy voted for Zay. Morgan voted for Zay. Adrian voted for Amy. Keanu voted for Amy. Ashley voted for Zay. Mickey voted for Zay. Will voted for Amy. Ava voted for Zay. Catherine voted for Zay. And Lauren voted for Zay. Now, real quick, it's pretty clear the bros voted together to save Zay. But it looks like it was unsuccessful in their attempt. So I already went and changed his color to black and white. That's how we're going to do it this season. So the first house guest evicted this season was Zay. And Zay has been evicted from the Big Brother house by a vote of 9-5. So ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to change his picture to black and white. All right. And now 1 down, 15 more to go before we get to our final 2. The game has officially begun. All right, next week on the recap show, we will recap week 2. Plus, the mastermind has announced that he's making his return this coming week. And I don't have a picture of it, but on the episode, we saw the mastermind reveal a secret safe that's behind one of the portraits in the house. So something's in that safe that we might find out what is in the next episode. So, and that's a wrap. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this recap. I'm hoping my setting will be a little bit better and I'll be in better health. But remember that we are doing the recap shows every Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Also keep in mind, next Friday will be the first Big Brother Unlocked episode, which will likely be on around this time when we watch the recap show. Except not for me. I'll do the recap show and then I think it'll be on at like 7 o'clock on my TV. So I'll be able to do both. But please feel free to pull up the Unlock show on one screen and keep our recap show on the other. And you like and subscribe to my channel, you will see former episodes of the recap show, including today's episode and the preseason episode. So feel free to check that out. And all my contact info is in the description below, so make sure you check that out. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. The game has begun, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the aftermath of this first eviction, especially since the vote was so close. Like, we were so close to a tiebreaker vote. That would have been sick for Vince to have to do a tiebreaker vote. So with that, I wish you all a happy weekend, and I will see you next Friday. Bye. See ya.